She, Her Day, and we're real happy to see you this morning. Our prelude is Morning Has Broken, which is number 38 in your hymnal. Yeah, gotcha.
You want me to put them at the front?
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, UUCBV, or Brazos UU for short. My name is Katie Womack, and I am serving as your worship assistant today. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we celebrate and welcome all people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. We also strive to welcome people across diversities of race, age, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are also a congregation working for reproductive justice. So, whoever you are, wherever you've come from, and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. I have several announcements this morning before we get started. Everyone is invited to the Big Gay Barbecue, which is this afternoon. There's going to be free food, drag performances starting at 2 and going till 7 p.m. at Kinder Hill Brew Lab, which is at 800 South Bryan Avenue. I believe that's downtown.
Yeah.
Okay, the Mystery Book Club, I understand, got off to a really good start this last week, and it will be meeting on Wednesday nights at Reverend Kiya and Meg's home at 7 p.m., and the next meeting is on November 30th. This is in person or on Zoom, and you can join to discuss some of your favorite mystery books, and you can find a link on our calendar on the website. Also on the website, you'll find online giving. You can give by check or on the website. Just click on Give, which is found in the main menu, which is at the top in the header information. And you'll find several options, including pay your pledge, make your financial commitment, and the RE matching grant, and some other special funds. We still need readers for the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is on Thursday, November 20th. It's going to be at Friends Church This is a reading of the names of the transgender folk that have died due to violence in the past year. And it's a reading of the names out loud. You can see Reverend Kiya or Allison for that.
Thanks, Katie. Our call to worship. Sexuality is who you want to be with. Gender identity is who you want to be in the world. Hari Neff.
Please say our chalice lighting words with me. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of the life of truth and meaning we share together. And will all please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is gift. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, everyone, I didn't see you sneak in. Good morning. I'm Allison Faber. I'm the Director of Religious Education here. Before I read our Time for All Ages, I have one major super fun announcement. If you like Christmas plays, oh, you're pointing at Liam. Does Liam like Christmas plays? Oh. If you are excited each year to see what our Christmas pageant will be, I think this year you'll be excited to know that it is the Grinch who stole Christmas. We have parts that are named, of course. Our own John Faber in the back has offered to do the voice of the Grinch, but we also need actors to act out the parts, so, like pantomime, I guess is the word. So if you're really into green body paint and can make really good facial expressions, then perhaps you too can be the Grinch. We're going to film it ahead of time because remember, we are virtual on Christmas because the Neal Center is closed. So on Christmas morning, after you wake up and get all of your presents from Santa, you can sit down in your pajamas and watch our wonderful Christmas service. So that's super exciting. I think that's exciting. And are you excited?
Yes.
I have a note.
A note.
This will be our last virtual Christmas.
No, don't knock on everything. All right, our Time for All Ages today is called Red, A Crayon's Story, and it is by Michael Hall. And it has really great pictures, so if you can't see, you can move over here and you can sit on the floor if you'd like, or there's a whole row of chairs empty up here so that you can look at the pictures. All right. Okay, he was red, but he wasn't very good at it. Oh dear. His teacher thought he needed more practice. I'll draw a red strawberry, then you draw a red strawberry. You can do this, really. But he couldn't, really. Like this? Oh my, let's try again. His mother thought he needed to mix with other colors. Why don't the two of you go out and draw a nice round orange? A really big one, a really orange one. but they made a big greenish one. Oops. Oh, yuck. I missed one. His grandparents thought he wasn't warm enough. Your class is making self-portraits for Parents' Night. Wear this warm red scarf. Nice, it's so you, says Gray. But it so wasn't. Oh dear me. So you can see all the other crayons drew their self-portraits and there's red. Everyone seemed to have something to say. Sometimes I wonder if he's really red at all. Don't be silly, it says red on the label. He came that way from the factory. Frankly, I don't think he's very bright. Well, I think he's lazy, right? He's got to press harder, really apply himself. Give him time, he'll catch on. Of course he will. But he didn't catch on. Green frog, black sheep, brown cow, red, oh. All the art supplies wanted to help. The masking tape thought he was broken inside. This will help hold you together. The scissors thought his label was too tight. One snip should do it. I thought he wasn't sharp enough. Stay still now. But even with all our help and all his hard work, he just couldn't get the hang of it. Oh, look, there goes red. One day, he met a new friend. Will you make a blue ocean for my boat? I can't, I'm red. Will you try? So he did. Thank you, it's perfect. You're welcome, it was easy. And he didn't stop there. Bluebells, blue jeans, bluebirds, blueberries, blue whale, I'm blue. He was blue. And everyone was talking. My son is brilliant. Who could have known that he was blue? I always said he was blue. It was obvious. His blue ocean really lifted me. All of his work makes me happy. His blue strawberries are my favorites. He's so intense. I'm gonna make a green lizard for him, a really big one. I hear he's working on a huge new project. He's really reaching for the sky. And he really was. The end. All right, so all the kiddos who are joining me outside, please come with me, and everyone else, would you please sing us out? Thanks.
I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So today we're talking about gender identity, gender expression, those kind of things, and I have a diagram for you. If we hand these out, everybody gets one. There's plenty. You need more? Everybody got one?
Yes.
What is this? Hieroglyphics. You can see up here a filled out one, and I'm going to just talk about it just a little bit. We're celebrating Transgender Day of Remembrance on the 20th and also on the 17th. So we're having our celebration here in Bryan at the Friends Church on Thursday the 17th at Friends Church, 6:30 p.m., where they're going to read the names of the people who are trans who have been killed in the last year all over the world. It's a long list. We're also going to have some good speakers and some music. And I thought maybe you might want to get more in touch with your identity. And this is a great way to do it. It's called the genderbread person. It was invented by a guy named Sam Killerman. And there are 4 different aspects of your gender and your expression of that. Your gender identity, which is your womanness or your maleness, and what you think about that. There is your gender expression, how you present in the world. There is your anatomical sex. So you were born, the nurses looked at you, the doctor looked at you, and they said you're male or you're female, right? That's your sexual identity. And then who you're attracted to. It may be a whole different combination. And all these things are on the spectrum. So the way this is drawn, you see that. So if we're looking at the genderbread guy, person, female or male, or some combination of, their brain is drawn there in their head. You see that? That's their identity. Who needs something to write with? I forgot to hand out the crayons. We have crayons. This does not have to be a tough thing. Now, every gay and lesbian person, every trans person, work this out at some point in their life. So even if you don't feel any connection to that, this is a good expression, because I think you'll find out that you might be an interesting combination. You're a unique combination of these 4 elements. Those of y'all who are following the order of service, I have completely jumped the shark. But I think that's okay. All right. Okay, so we're at the brain, up there where the brain is, and that's for your gender identity. And at the very left, underneath the genderbread person, on the left there's 2 lines. One is your maleness and one is your femaleness. And so you can mark where you think you fit. And here's the coolest thing of all. It's not permanent. You may feel that way today, and then tomorrow feel a completely different way. So I'm going to read this to you here. Gender identity, who you think you are. Gender identity is all about who you think about yourself, what you think about internally. Like, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about myself, because I consider myself gender fluid, or my gender is a little bit mixed. So when I tell you my pronouns, I say I'm she, her, they. I'll answer to all those, and some days I'm a little bit more on the male end, and some days I'm more on the female end. But because I grew up in the 2nd generation of feminists, I keep my she. But even when I was a kid, all the people around me in my family, I grew up in the South in a very traditional rural kind of family, and usually they made the women eat second. I always got fed first. When people had weddings, they'd say, "Oh, Kiya, you can wear a tux. Come to the wedding." Nobody ever expected me to wear a dress. Now, nobody ever talked to me about this, even when I was a little kid. Nobody ever talked about it. It was just obvious to them. And they never said, oh, you are different. But I knew I was different. And when I really knew was I was in Istanbul in a hostel in an all-female room. And all the women in the room were going to the bar to dance disco and pick up guys. And I went, I have never wanted to do that ever in my life. You know? And you realize that you're different somehow. So it's weird. Now some people wake up and they feel, I'm in the wrong body. I am just completely in the wrong body. I have never felt that way. But that's why I don't say that I'm trans. But a lot of trans people, they feel that they were born in the wrong body. So their gender identity in their brain is the opposite of what their anatomical gender is. So where do you fall on the gender identity spectrum? And what are your ideas about maleness and femaleness? Because y'all, we still live in a culture where being female is a disadvantage. You make less money, for one. You're not as safe. There's lots of things that affect your economic life. Your whole life is based on your gender. So this stuff has a lot of implications. Don't you think? We can talk about that too. Okay, so everybody got your gender identity worked out? Now we're gonna go to attraction. So who are you attracted to? Who do you dream about? Do you notice? Like, I notice when guys are very handsome. I notice muy guapo. I'm like, yes. You know, does that mean that I want to go out with them? I have to like the person a whole lot, you know? So most of my experiences have been with women, so I identify as a lesbian. But that doesn't mean that I still fit on the spectrum all the way at one end or the other. So think about it for a second. You don't have to show this to anybody. Just think about and then your expression. How do you express your identity? Like, were you one of those girls that like always wore pink? You had a pink bedroom, you had dresses, you loved dolls, you were into it, I made a mistake of giving my granddaughter a truck once. And I was lectured greatly on the fact that she was a girl and that I should not give her a truck and that trucks were for boys. I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't understand that. How was it for you when you were little? How was it for you when you were a teenager? Puberty. How do you prefer to dress now? Are you a pantsuit kind of person like Hillary Clinton? Or are you a dress person? Or do you like to mix it up? That's your expression, your gender expression. And then you have your biological sex in the correct location. That symbol determines what you were identified as. Now, people have a lot more combinations than that. Some people are XXY. There's actually, you know, I think it's like 1 in 100 people are, you know, in some way not clearly genetically female or male. If you're born and they can't tell, it's sometimes determined by the doctor. They just decide. Now, everybody in our culture, you can take it from a cultural standpoint and you go, gee, if I could be a male or a female, which one would I want to be to live in the world, power-wise? What do you think? How many people would prefer to be male? You're going to make 20% more money. Right? All these things are really important. So how much of that determines when people are deciding, young people are deciding, hey, I'm gender queer or I'm gender neutral, how much of that is societal pressure as well as preferences. That's where feminism comes in handy, right? We're like, hey, we'd like to make the world a little bit safer, more equal, more equality. What do you think? Strong opinions about that? So are you able to fill out your form so far? How you're sexually identified? Whom are you attracted to? Or are you attracted to a lot of people? Are you only attracted to people? There's words for every single thing. And it changes all the time. It's always growing. So don't be afraid to ask if you have a question. I was called asexual. What does that mean? That kind of thing. In the summer, I did a service where we just went through the definitions of all these different terminologies. And the younger you are, the more aware you are of the variety and the less binary you are in your definitions of yourself. And some of these words mean the same thing. So being gender fluid, gender queer, have you heard these terms? Right. Queer means a whole different thing than it did when I was a teenager in the 70s, right? Means a whole different thing now than it did then. So, we're doing our thing here. So your gender identity does not necessarily equal your gender expression, and it doesn't necessarily equal your sex. Like, I have always loved Patti Smith because she dressed great. She would wear a tacked suit with a skinny black tie in the 80s and the late 70s, and it was so cool. She looked androgynous to me. That's one of the words that people used to use that they don't use as much now. And she's amazing, and she's aged really well, and she rocks really hard. We like her. Who do you look up to? How many people like Tilda Swinton? Have you seen Tilda's acting? She's an actress. She played. She did Orlando, and she played males and females, and she's very androgynous looking, and like you can't quite figure her out. She was just in 10,000 Years. What's the name of that movie? About the genie. She was the female lead in that movie about where.
I think most people will know her as the Sorceress Supreme in the Marvel Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, anyway, she's another one you could look up. Who's another one? The actress in Fargo, who's very androgynous in her appearance and swings between.
Frances McDormand.
Yeah, yeah. How about guys? Eddie Redmayne, who played the trans woman and
Danish Girl.
yeah. He's also in Fantastic Beasts. He's the one with the suitcase. Yeah, so people swing a lot of different ways, right? And every single person is unique. And how much better would our lives be if you could actually be who you feel like you are? What do you think?
Styles is a good example. Harry Styles.
Harry Styles, yeah. And The Postman, yeah.
He wears, dresses every once in a while, and his songs are they're very deep meaning.
Or Billy Porter, or there's a lot of people who mess with this stuff.
David Bowie was really one of the
David
first.
Bowie,
He was
yeah.
one of the first to really push it.
Yeah.
That image.
Yeah, that lived to tell the tale,
Yeah.
for sure.
Annie Lennox.
Yeah, it's dangerous to be different. So getting in touch with the places that you might be different, that you just maybe not express it on a day-to-day level, but inside you feel that way. The more comfortable everybody gets with themselves, and the more comfortable they are with other people, and the more authentic people are, the better the entire society is going to be. That's the short story here. So, okay, so has everybody been able to fill out their form? Like, think of all the straight couples, the heterosexual couples that you can think of. And in those combinations, is the male person always male and the female person always female? Or is it a strong woman with a quiet guy who, do you see what I'm saying? Like, people work this stuff out, but we just don't talk about it. But if you're going to be more understanding of trans and genderqueer people, being a little bit more open to who you are and your differences and stuff, make you able to not look at these people as the other. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm the only one here. I don't want to feel isolated from my congregation or my people. Y'all are my people, right? And I don't want to be the weirdo. And people still, the more you know this stuff and you understand and think about it, the less likely you're going to commit what they call microaggressions. Everybody know what I mean by microaggressions?
I think you should explain it.
Okay, I'm going to.
Good.
So, even if you don't think about it, okay. Meg and I just had a new grandson. If you ask yourself, who had the baby? That is a microaggression. Do you do that to the dads in the heterosexual relationships that you're around? Are the kids his kids too? Or do you only think of the mother as the parent? Isn't that an interesting thing? That's a little microaggression. No harm if you've ever done it, don't worry about it. But microaggressions happen all the time. They happen with BIPOC people, they happen with trans people. You know, getting your pronouns right is hard work, and everybody messes up. But if your intention is good, then you're showing that you're not treating these people as other, they're your people. They're included in your we, in your sense of we. So microaggressions are anytime you do something where it's like a little, you see the other person wince, maybe. Like, you're so smart to a person who happens to be black. There's a little microaggression in there, as if all people who are black are not smart. And this is the unusual one. If you all have seen Wakanda Forever, which just came out 2 days ago, it's fabulous for this. It really turns a lot of stereotypes on its head. You know, there's tradition, there's a lot of African elements of the story, but they're also brilliant, genius people in the story. So that's what I'm talking about. Watch yourself when you say we, who do you mean? Are we trying to include everyone? Guys, you are socialized to be guys. And women, you're socialized to be women. So when you break the rules, somehow, you have an unusual job. Like Kathy had an unusual job. She can relate to this, I'm sure. So she was a vet, one of the first women vets, right? Because women can't be veterinarians. Or can they? Women aren't strong enough to handle horses or whatever. That's an example. I hope you don't mind me using this. Think of the things that you do that are unusual in the definitions that you were taught as a child of what a woman is, what a man is. Do you like it when guys cry? Does it bother you? Who taught you that? Who taught you that? Just, all I'm asking you to do is spend a little bit of time thinking about this chart, thinking about where you fit, and also think about how it is for other people. You know, it's really hard to have a strong family if everyone doesn't accept you as being part of that family. We have relatives in our family that really were fine with me until we got married, and when we got married, they freaked out. I'm not going to name their names, but they're not watching this service. right? And so when their daughter grew up, we weren't invited to the wedding. And now we have nieces and nephews that we're not gonna ever meet. That's how strict people's brains are about these things, these boxes. And are you supporting churches and other institutions that support that kind of thinking? Like, there are churches, y'all, here in Bryan College Station that are sending money to Uganda to support their efforts to suppress, i.e., put people who are gay in prison. So it's not just an intellectual conversation about their politics and their religious beliefs, because their religious beliefs back up situations and money that cause people to be murdered. There's a reason why there's so many trans people murdered every year. You know, especially trans people who are presenting their femaleness, who are sex workers. So if you're on the street and you're soliciting, and the person who picks you up is expecting a certain kind of anatomy, and you don't have that, you might get yourself murdered. That's just a fact, y'all. Can you always tell? Do you think you can? I don't think so. Just think about it a little bit. I'm not like trying to cause you a lot of harm here, but if you want more information on the genderbread person and you want to read up more about the different definitions or whatever, you can go to genderbread.org. And Sam Killerman, who thought this up, is on the 4.0 because it's fluid and it's changing all the time. Definitions are changing all the time. When I was growing up, I came out, y'all, in 1974. I was 14 in Kentucky. There were 2 books at the bookstore, at the Walden Books in the mall, that had anything to do with homosexuality. And I would look at them, and I would look at the person at the desk and go, I can't buy this book. I can't buy this book. So I stole it. I know, I could have been arrested, it would have been terrible, but that's the kind of stuff that happens. You like, oh, and in that time, being gay, a woman could be gay, but nowadays, it's not correct to say that. So women are lesbians. Women who want to be with women are lesbians. Men who want to be with men are gay. And then there's all different kind of combinations from there. All different kind of combinations. So, you know, it depends. Not everybody who's trans is gay. Not everybody who's bisexual is with their preferred partners. You know, there's a lot of combinations here. It's still a lot easier. You make a lot more money, you have a lot more choices if you're heterosexual, cisgendered. You know what I mean by those terms? Cisgender means that you feel like you are what you were born and the doctor said you were when you were born. So if you were born and they said, it's a girl, and everything was pink when you got home, then you're cisgendered female. That's what I mean. And there's hetero and homosexual and transsexual and pansexual and all these different terms. And if you just searched definitions of sexuality, thousands of terms would come up. Like, does everybody at least know what LGBT stands for? How about QIA2S? Everybody good? Okay, what do you not know so I can help you? Okay, Q, queer. Queer, you could be completely hetero in your sexual choices and be queer. You feel like you're somehow different. Outside, we have people in our congregation who are queer, who their partner is the opposite sex from them. It's not just a lesbian or gay term, queer.
What does queer mean then?
It means what you want it to mean. At this point in time, it means I feel different. I feel outside the norm, the dominant culture. I feel outside the dominant culture. Maybe you're in a relationship and you want to express being more dominant in that relationship, but you happen to be female, or however you work it out. You all are doing all this stuff too. It's just you don't talk about it this way. But somebody feels like they want to be more progressive and they say, I'm queer, because they want to identify with their lesbian and gay friends. They want to stand out, they're counterculture people, and they like the terminology. But queer is wide enough that you could be a straight person and still be queer.
You mentioned that in the 70s, queer didn't mean what it does now. Is it because of all the different combinations?
I think so. Also, words change over time, right? Every generation kind of uses the words. Think of some word that when you were a teenager that people used in a new way, like, oh man, that's really bad. And then the older people were like, what? It's not bad, it's good. Yeah, that's what I meant. But they don't know. We're completely rewriting language all the time. And in this community of people who have been outsider and marginalized in some way, they are even more creative about language. So it changes all the time. I'm certainly not an expert. I have to keep up just like everybody else. I'm old, right? But I have been a lesbian for 50-something years, right? And I know what it's like to be marginalized. And I wasn't allowed to consider being a teacher, for example. It's just recently, really since the 90s, that I could be a minister. So think of all the people who might be perfectly suited for something and they couldn't do it because of their sexual preference, or, that's the reality. So the letters that you don't know are, okay, so we went LGBT, everybody good? Lesbian, bi, trans, G is gay, T trans, okay. Q is queer, I, intersexual. That usually implies that your biological situation is both.
Hermaphrodite.
Yes, exactly. But it's an uncool word.
Yeah, I mean.
A is asexual. Like, there are a lot of, especially young people, that are not in sex. They want to have emotional relationships, no sexual activity. Asexual, for whatever reason. Okay, 2S comes from the indigenous culture. It means that you're two-spirited. And in many traditional cultures, if you were two-spirited, I kind of feel like I'm 2S. That makes in indigenous culture, you would be the person that people would come to ask for names for their children. There was a role in society for people who felt comfortable crossing over. If you dreamed of, say you were female in your presentation, and you dreamed of going to war, then nobody would think it was weird if you became a warrior, or you took a wife. A 2S, two-spirited. And usually it's 2+ is what that means. And nowadays, they try to include everybody, so the we is the biggest possible thing. So that's what the plus is. If you can think of it and say, hey, well, I'm this, then chances are you're in the plus. Want everybody there. Want, allies. Hopefully everybody here is an ally. That's why you're being invited to the big gay barbecue. That's why, you want to show your support. And I think that's where that queer thing comes from, where people go, well, I'm queer, that's why I'm here. It's a way of saying, hey, I'm not, like in the 70s, when I was first going to demonstrations or whatever, there would be allies there, but they would make sure that you knew that they weren't gay or that they weren't lesbian. Oh, I'm an ally. They used it like to say, I'm supporting this. like you're patting them on the head kind of way. I'm supporting you, but I'm not you, right? That's a microaggression. I can't speak for every other person who's a lesbian, who's all the different things I am, but I can tell you that I notice it. I may not say anything, but I notice it. You know, and have compassion because people work it out. Every person who's ever come out had to work it out because we're all socialized in a society where it's not good. You know, that is my biggest argument for why nobody chose to be gay because it's cool or because the L word was on TV. Nobody decided to do that. It's too hard. You're born that way. And you would either want to live authentically or you don't. So if you're a person who believes that somehow it's like, oh, well, you just want to stick out. No. You just want to get paid less money and have less job opportunities and you want your life to be harder? No, that is not true. You want people to tell you you can't adopt a child or that they don't want you around their grandkids? Nobody wants that. That's what it's like, yeah. It's better now. It's better after last night too. You know, politically, let's say. It's better. That's why I can't just be above all the fray and not talk about that stuff. I mean, I encourage you to talk about politics as well, but politics matters a whole lot right now if you are a person who is marginalized in any way. So, does anybody have any other questions or terms that they don't know? You know, talk to me.
What happened last night?
Nevada was called for a Democrat, which means the Senate is going to stay in Democratic control. So the Republicans don't have a majority, so they can't roll back marriage equality, for example.
You're talking more from a female point of view about how females have certain characteristics of being male, but there must be also the male side going to female.
Right. I tend to talk about things I actually have expertise in. So, yeah, I would assume that there are plenty of people you could talk to about the opposite. You know, I see both ways. My brother, who passed away really young, was pretty much like the opposite of me. So he was just starting to have to deal with his identity and trying to fit in and everything. But he died really young, so we don't get to know how he would have ended up. But yeah, you're exactly right, Pam. I'm only going to talk about what I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about. You know, it's better to talk to people directly. And, you know, and everybody's not the same. There are a lot of lesbians, especially my generation and the generation older than me, that are pretty anti-trans. And so I quit hanging out with them.
Why?
I think it's a feminist argument about what being female means, and because many of the guys who present as female tend to do it in a very traditional Madison Avenue idea of womanhood, you know, lots of makeup, whatever. And so a lot of those women who really struggle to just be able to be a woman and not have somebody say, you're acting like a man. No, I'm acting like a woman who does whatever, who works construction, for example, or they feel like that these guys don't know, and they would say, these guys don't know. They wouldn't say, she doesn't know what it's like. They're really into this whole biological femaleness, and I think it's a lack of, I haven't kicked them off my page. and we have had discussions about it, but I've lost a lot of friends over it. Because I just don't agree with that. You know, and so you need to kind of get an idea where you stand on these things, and you can change your mind. Say, well, you know, I used to think this, but now I think this. It's totally okay, because it's so fluid. It's happening all the time now. This is an period of time. Those of y'all who are in the room and under 25, you know that you are much more aware about gender than your grandparents. It's just discussed. It's more part of your day-to-day life. And I think that's great. And I hope it happens more. And anybody who wants to talk to me about any of this stuff, I can talk about other stuff too. This just has to be something I know about. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it, no shame. You know, how are you going to learn if you can't talk directly to people? We need to talk to people directly, and we need to have as much diversity as possible to have a good understanding. There's cultures we don't understand. There's, you know, our we needs to get much bigger. And you'll hear that from me no matter what I'm talking about, right? So let's have joys and concerns, because I skipped it. And would you like to sing a song to end the sermon? Let's end the song with "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple," which is a Shaker hymn. I want to play too.
Oh, good. It's better if everybody plays.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I think. So we're going to play it through instrumentally. I want to thank John and Ken for being our musicians this week. Y'all, they meet, they practice, they're ready to go. Give them a hand, please.
To be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. When we find ourselves in the place just right, it will be in the valley of love and love. True simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. Turn, we'll be ever light till we're turning, we come round right.
Let's try it one more time.
Tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, to be in the valley of love and light. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. Turn, be ever light till we're turning, we come round right.
And now's the time in our service where we share our joys and our concerns with our whole community. Please be aware that it is being recorded and will be up on the internet. So measure your comments accordingly. Anybody have a joy they'd like to share or a concern?
If my dad were still with us, tomorrow would be his 102nd birthday. He passed away 10 years ago, but this is a cap that he wore in the last few years of his life, so I still wear it on occasion to remember him.
Today is my husband's birthday. Tomorrow is my birthday. He never can forget my birthday. And then on the 17th, it's Mary Lynn Bryan's birthday. She's 10 years older than I am. And she was the realtor that went around Bryan with me and some of our members to find the location for the new church. And she donated her realtor fee to the church's budget.
Our grandson Vance has come home with his mom and dad.
Our dog they couldn't find any cancer, so that's good. So we just have to figure out how to live with him being blind. So I'm working on that.
Anybody else?
He's blind, but he doesn't have cancer.
We'll light one more candle for all the unspoken joys and concerns. And now we're going to sing number 18. What wondrous love is this?
I'll let you set tempo since I was a little bit fast on Simple.
That's okay. Just
It
sing it to
sounded really
yourself
good
in
that
your
way,
head.
but it was a little hard to sing.
And just sing it to yourself in your head before you start playing.
Now let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. This month, we are proud to support the Mobile Food Pantry. The Brazos Valley Food Bank began the Mobile Food Pantry program in 2008 with the goal of bringing fresh, frozen, and non-perishable food directly to food deserts, communities with inadequate access to nutritious foods needed to maintain a healthy diet. So please be as generous as you can.
So yeah, let's take up the offering, please. And while we're taking up the offering, you get to listen to this wonderful composer named Keith Murphy's song, Arizona. If you want to look up more about him, it's blackilemusic.com.
We give thanks for these gifts we have given, for those we receive, and for each other. May your generosity return to you tenfold. And now please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
I hope to see you at the Big Gay Barbecue. It starts at 2 o'clock and goes to 6 o'clock. Free food, wear a coat. That's cola. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Wanna try it? We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Y'all go in peace.